Ever hop into a car for a driving lesson or maybe onto a bike and just, assume your instructor knows their stuff? I think we all do. But have you ever stopped to consider what really goes in to becoming a certified professional driver or a rider trainer? It's far more intricate than just knowing how to operate a vehicle. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a really fascinating document, the National Standard for Driver and Rider Training. Now, this isn't just some basic checklist. It's a pretty comprehensive roadmap outlining the skills, knowledge, and understanding required to deliver, well, top-tier instruction. And our mission today is to unpack a crucial segment of this standard, a section often called Role 6, which focuses specifically on how trainers actually deliver driver-rider training programs.
Yeah, and what's truly illuminating about this standard, I think, is how it ensures instructors aren't just, skilled drivers themselves, but also expert educators and insightful coaches, meticulous risk managers, too. This deep dive will hopefully pull back the curtain on those unseen layers of professionalism that form the bedrock of road safety and effective learning. For you, maybe you're a learner or a parent thinking about lessons, or maybe you're just curious about what makes a great instructor. Understanding this framework offers a really profound appreciation for the rigor behind quality guidance.
Okay, so settle in. We're about to explore the sophisticated world that transforms someone who can drive into someone who can genuinely teach you to drive safely and responsibly. For life, hopefully. Well, let's start at the very beginning then. Before an instructor even shakes a learner's hand or starts the engine, what are the absolute non-negotiables? The standard kicks off by outlining these preparations, specifically focusing on meeting all legal requirements. What exactly does that involve?
Right. Well, this initial section, we could call it the instructor foundations, basically confirms that the instructor themselves is completely squared away, legally speaking. It emphasizes two critical areas. First, it's about ensuring their status as an instructor is impeccable. So they must hold a current, valid license for the training vehicle and be registered with the appropriate body. Simple enough. But here's the really crucial part. It's not just a one-time check. They have a continuous obligation to report any change to their status.
Any change? Like what?
Things like convictions, obviously, but also medical conditions or even changes to their eyesight. This commitment to ongoing competence, far beyond just passing their initial test, is truly fundamental to maintaining trust and safety.
So it's definitely not a set it and forget it situation then. Continuous self-regulation is key. And then beyond the instructor themselves, what about the actual vehicle they'll be using?
Precisely.
Yeah.
That's the second element here. Confirming that the training vehicle is absolutely fit for purpose. This means the vehicle meets all legal and organizational requirements for roadworthiness. Think about it. Specific minimum test vehicle, or MTV requirements. Those are standards for the car used in training.
Right.
Also, the correct L or D plate markings, the learner plates you see, they must be displayed correctly. And crucially, any additional equipment like dual controls or even sat-nav systems these days must be legally compliant and fully functional.
Makes sense.
The instructor has to ensure appropriate insurance is in place too, and all documentation, registration, tax, MOT is valid. Even basic daily safety checks like tires and lights are an absolute must.
And what if the learner provides their own car? Does that change things?
Good question. Even then, the instructor still needs to confirm it meets those MTV standards, check the documentation, and carry out those essential safety checks. This sort of meticulous attention to detail ensures your learning environment is safe and compliant from the outset, before you even turn the key.
Wow, that's an incredible amount of essential groundwork, all before the engine even starts.
Yeah.
It really highlights the depth of responsibility instructors hold. Almost a hidden labor of preparation, isn't it?
It really is.
Okay, moving on from those foundational checks, we arrive at how instructors actually design the learning programs. This sounds like where the magic of teaching begins to take shape. What's the core philosophy guiding this design?
Yeah, this next unit of the standard introduces what's known as the client-centered learning approach. And it's a philosophy that really threads throughout the entire document. The core insight here is that your learning journey isn't just like pre-written, it's a dynamic, evolving blueprint built around you.
Yeah.
It's about maximizing your learning by taking into account your current status, any prior experience you have, and your particular needs as a learner. It's definitely not a generic curriculum. It's custom tailored, which demands that the instructor be adaptable, able to adjust outline programs to meet individual needs, making sure no learning outcomes get missed.
That's a fantastic point about it being a dynamic blueprint.
Yeah.
It really sounds like it moves beyond simply teaching maneuvers to truly designing an individual's path to lifelong safety.
Hmm.
So once that personalized plan is sort of roughed out, how do they actually execute it in practice? What does that look like for the learner?
Exactly. Well, the instructor has to perform several key tasks to build that bespoke journey for you. This includes things like confirming your license and eyesight, obviously, but also identifying your specific learning needs, your initial skill level, and any special requirements, maybe potential vehicle adaptations.
Right.
And interestingly, if your needs are outside their particular area of expertise, they're actually expected to find a suitable colleague to help.
So it's good to know.
Yeah. Then they plan an outline program that ensures equal opportunities for all learners, creates detailed lesson plans for each session, make sure all resources from in-car materials to maybe e-learning are available, and involves competent third parties where it might be beneficial, like an occupational therapist, perhaps. They even specify how accompanying drivers, like parents or carers, can support your learning, particularly important for those with physical or cognitive disabilities. And throughout all of this, they establish how they will review your progress and, importantly, the program's effectiveness. This whole approach ensures they understand not just the practical driving test requirements, but also the nuances between different types of faults driving, serious, dangerous faults, and even how cultural or religious factors like, say, sensitivities around eye contact or maybe contradicting a teacher might affect how you learn best.
Wow. That's far more involved than just showing me how to parallel park.
Yeah.
It really is about designing a truly effective, personalized educational experience, right down to cultural considerations.
Absolutely, it's holistic.
So now we get to the heart of what many of us probably think of when we imagine a driving lesson enabling safe and responsible driving and riding. This isn't just about passing a test, is it?
No, absolutely not. This section of the standard is really about helping you acquire the skills, the knowledge, and the understanding to drive safely and responsibly throughout your entire driving career.
Right. Lifelong learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally about developing competence and fostering a willingness to keep learning long after the test. The standard really emphasizes that simply, telling a learner what to do might get them through a test.
Mhm.
But true, long-lasting change and real understanding come when the instructor presents knowledge clearly, really listens to your reactions, helps you identify your own obstacles, and then supports you in finding strategies to overcome them yourself.
Right.
This approach, the client-centered learning we mentioned, it's all based on mutual respect, making sure you are engaged and an active participant in your own learning.
So an instructor isn't just like pouring information in. They're trying to cultivate your inner driver, your decision making.
Yeah.
How exactly do they create that kind of active, engaging atmosphere in a car or maybe even in a classroom setting?
Well, it begins with creating a learning climate that genuinely promotes learning. That's the foundation, really. It involves establishing effective, non-discriminatory communication, making sure you fully understand the program's objectives and how each session will likely run, and explaining how the instructor expects to work with you.
Okay. Setting expectations.
Precisely. They also make sure you know about all the available learning opportunities and even, as we said, how accompanying drivers or carers can best support you. This climate ensures you take ownership of your learning, which equips you far better for independent driving down the line.
Right. Once that trust and clarity are there, how do they teach the actual skills, the nuts and bolts of driving?
Okay, yeah. That's where clear explanation and realistic demonstration come in. There's definitely a place for that. Instructors select suitable, safe locations, provide timely explanations, and constantly encourage questions, making sure you understand the why behind each skill, not just the how. They ensure you have ample practice opportunities and give feedback that genuinely helps you identify and overcome obstacles, not just criticism, but constructive help. The ultimate goal here really is to move the use of controls and practical skills from requiring active effort and concentration to becoming almost automatic.
Like muscle memory.
Exactly. What we sometimes call implicit or procedural memory, getting it ingrained so you don't have to consciously think about every single gear change, for example. As quickly and safely as possible, of course.
Like riding a bike eventually becomes second nature.
Precisely that.
But it's not just showing, it's guiding.
Yeah.
So beyond just explaining and demonstrating, how does an instructor go further to truly empower the learner? What does that coaching aspect look like in practice?
Yeah, this is where the real depth of instruction often lies in the coaching. It's less about telling, more about asking, guiding. It's about engaging in a rich, two-way conversation with you to help you identify obstacles to your learning and then devise your own strategies to overcome them.
So they help you problem solve.
Exactly. They actively listen to your experiences, help you reflect on feedback, both theirs and your own internal feedback, and progressively transfer the balance of responsibility for the learning process over to you as you become ready. All this is done, crucially, while the instructor maintains their critical responsibility for safety. That never goes away.
Of course.
They also work with you to decide when you're truly ready for the formal assessment, the test, emphasizing your readiness rather than just sticking to a fixed schedule.
That sounds much more collaborative. What about if you're learning in a group setting, though? Like for motorcycles, perhaps. That
Yeah.
must add a whole other layer of complexity.
It certainly does, and the standard addresses that. For group-based learning, the instructor needs specific skills to facilitate that environment effectively. While everyone might share common objectives, groups present extra challenges, don't they? Different personalities, different learning speeds. So, instructors must ensure all learners feel comfortable, able to express views, and actively participate. They skillfully manage group dynamics to prevent individuals from being isolated or becoming distractions. And they're trained to interrupt any discriminatory or oppressive behavior immediately. That's very clear.
Good.
This skill ensures effective and inclusive learning, even in a collective environment. It's not just about the individuals, but the group dynamic too.
Okay, this next section sounds incredibly important. Managing risk. To the
Good.
instructor, the learner, and, well, any third parties nearby.
Yeah.
What kind of risks are we primarily talking about here?
Yeah, this unit is absolutely critical. It's all about actively managing the risks that can and sometimes do crop up during training, ensuring the health and safety of absolutely everyone involved. It's about anticipating potential problems and reacting effectively, both inside and outside the vehicle. The immediate risks are, of course, those related to the on-road environment itself, traffic, hazards, the unexpected. So, instructors must ensure both they and you are fit to start the session, not tired, not stressed. They need to give clear, timely instructions and adapt them if you don't seem to understand. They are constantly scanning the environment, assessing hazards, and taking decisive action if you don't perceive a hazard or maybe can't respond safely in time.
So they're like a second pair of eyes and an early warning system.
Exactly. And critically, they use those client-centered techniques we discussed to equip you to deal with hazards in the future, not just react to the immediate situation under instruction, building your own risk assessment skills.
Ah, that's key.
They also know precisely when to intervene verbally or physically using dual controls if fitted to ensure safety. And they understand very clearly that their responsibility as a supervising driver means they are legally considered in control of the vehicle at all times during instruction.
Wow. It's a huge responsibility to be that vigilant, essentially being a co-pilot, but ultimately the captain responsible for the ship.
That's a good way to put it.
But risks aren't just from traffic, are they? You mentioned inside and outside the vehicle.
Indeed not. The standard also explicitly addresses managing the risk of violence in the learning environment.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. The health and safety executive acknowledges that people dealing with the public can, unfortunately, sometimes face aggressive or even violent behavior. Instructors are trained to implement their organization's policies to protect themselves and learners from such risks. This includes skills in managing aggressive behavior, knowing when it's necessary to stop a session, call for assistance, or even leave the learning space if safety is compromised, and then reporting any incidents properly.
Okay.
They're trained to be aware of how to interpret body language, potential triggers, and also the limits of their own ability to protect themselves. It makes it clear that safety extends beyond just the driving itself.
That adds another layer I hadn't really considered. And what about health and safety? If training moves into, say, a classroom setting for theory or group discussions?
Good point. For that, there's a specific focus on managing health and safety in the classroom environment. This covers general health and safety procedures for enclosed premises, especially important when dealing with groups. Instructors implement these procedures, ensure learners understand all the emergency protocols like fire exits, assembly points, and know their responsibilities in an emergency, such as a fire evacuation. It's a comprehensive approach, ensuring safety in all training contexts, underscoring the holistic nature of their responsibility. It's not just about the road.
Okay. So it sounds like instructors themselves are constantly learning and evolving to keep up with all this. That's really quite impressive. It suggests a commitment to excellence that goes way beyond just getting certified once.
Yes, exactly. That's a really important part of Role 6 and the standard overall. It's about continuous professional development CPD. Instructors are required to evaluate and develop their own knowledge, understanding, and skills in the driver or rider training industry. They must constantly evaluate their capabilities against evolving industry requirements, stay current with training issues, new research, changes in regulations,
Hmm.
and actively seek feedback from sources like learner performance records, maybe line managers if they work for a school, and importantly from colleagues too. Peer learning.
Right.
They set objectives for their ongoing development, identify relevant training opportunities, courses, workshops, reading, and maintain a reflective log to assess their progress. This commitment ensures that the quality of instruction continually improves, responding to new evidence and best practices in both driving safety and teaching methods.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, is that they even develop and use role play to train other instructors.
Yeah.
That's a real deep dive into pedagogy, isn't it? Teaching the teachers how to teach effectively, especially in tricky situations.
Absolutely. That's the final unit we're touching on from Role 6, and it's quite specialized. It focuses on developing and using a program of role play specifically for trainee instructors. And this isn't just about, pretending to be a learner. It involves quite skilled character portrayal and
Mhm.
simulating faults or development needs in a way that's realistic, but crucially, safe.
Okay.
The aim is to prepare future instructors for the unexpected things learners might do or say. They meticulously design realistic, credible scenarios, define clear learning outcomes for the trainee instructor, and plan how to conduct safe simulations. This involves knowing, for example, when role play is the most effective method compared to, say, discussion or demonstration, and identifying common learner faults that trainees need practice in handling.
So how do they actually implement this role play safely and effectively,
Yeah.
especially if they're simulating challenging driving faults or difficult learner interactions?
That's a critical question, and safety is paramount. The instructor trainer briefs the trainee instructor very clearly on the learning outcomes and how the role play will be managed. This includes having clear signals for when they are in character as the learner and when they are out of character to give feedback or instructions.
Ah, okay. Like actors?
Sort of, yes. They maintain consistency in their learner role to make it believable and carefully manage the balance between realistic simulation and maintaining safety. And crucially, safe practices are absolute. No simulated faults can ever be committed that actually contravene road rules or affect other road users. That would be dangerous and illegal.
So how do they practice high-risk faults then?
Often high-risk faults are simulated verbally. The trainer might say, okay, I'm now going to fail to check my mirrors before turning left, rather than actually doing it unsafely. The instructor trainer adapts the level of fault simulation to match the trainee's developing ability, uses real road situations opportunistically where appropriate and safe, and provides accurate, supportive feedback afterwards. The goal is always to help the trainee develop excellent instructional technique and safe management strategies. It's a really sophisticated and carefully controlled method for developing critical teaching skills without any real-world danger.
That's genuinely a surprising fact. It's incredible how much thought and structure goes into preparing an instructor to handle almost every conceivable scenario, even before they encounter it with a real learner. It really is a testament to the dedication to safety and excellence at every level of the profession.
It really is. There's a lot going on behind the scenes.
What a journey. We've taken a real deep dive today into just one part, Role 6, of the National Standard for Driver and Rider Training. We've uncovered these intricate layers of legal compliance, the art of detailed personalized learning design, the nuanced craft of teaching safe driving, that meticulous risk management, and the continuous professional development that defines a truly expert instructor.
Yeah, and if we connect this back to the bigger picture, this standard fundamentally reveals that becoming a professional driving or riding instructor is far, far more than just mastering a vehicle. It really isn't. It demands the sophisticated blend of legal knowledge, pedagogical expertise, psychological insight, and an absolutely unwavering commitment to safety. For you, the listener, this means that the person guiding you on the road or your child is operating within an incredibly robust and thoughtful framework, one that's meticulously designed to create not just someone who can pass a test, but a safe, responsible, and hopefully lifelong driver or rider.
It really does make you appreciate the quiet professionalism behind every lesson, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what does this all mean for you? Well, maybe next time you see an instructor at work, perhaps remember the unseen expertise, the careful planning, the constant learning that goes into making our roads safer, one learner at a time.
And perhaps this raises an important question to leave you with. How might understanding the depth of this client-centered and safety-first approach, not just in driving, but potentially in other areas, how might that influence how you perceive and engage with other essential services in your daily life? And perhaps even inspire you to approach your own learning, whatever it may be, with a similar level of intentionality and focus.